jog to the park to make sure that I got a really great warm-up. So make sure you're doing that as well. Get a nice, good warm-up in first. We started off at a bench. I went right into some step-ups, 8 each, 16 total. Really thinking about stepping up nice and high, pushing through that foot on the bench, lifting that opposite knee. Thinking about exhaling to stand and lift the knee, inhale on the way down. Trying to control yourself on the way down as much as possible so you're not just letting gravity plop you back down. Okay. What's really nice about having a partner with you is your work is their rest is your work. Okay, before you go into sprinting. And then from here, we're going to go into some push-ups. What I like about these benches is it gives you some options. You can do this from the ground, you can do this at that medium level, or if you're really struggling at that medium level, you can elevate it and come to the back of the bench as well. So you have different options to make it easier or harder as you go. Not all parks have benches like this, I understand that, but do what you can with what you're given. And then we're off, sprinting. You know, we have the ability to go almost 0.2 of a mile between benches, so that's what we were doing. At our next stop, we went into some hip thrusters. Okay, bra line is on the bench, lowering the hips, raising the hips, making sure everything from your hips to your shoulders stays together. Core is engaged the whole time. I went a little bit higher on the rep count with this. I went 15, just to really make sure I started to feel it and it was more appropriate for body weight. If you had a weight, you would not go 15. And then we go into dips. Again, this bench is great. There's lots of different levels you can use. I start out with my knees bent, which is a little easier, or you can straighten out the legs. It makes it a little harder. Pretend you're scraping your back on the bench as you shoot your elbows straight behind you. Okay, and then we're off sprinting again. I'm starting off with just a little bit of a jog before I pick up that pace, just to kind of ease into it a little bit. At our next bench, I'm going to do pulses here, so not ever standing fully. Really trying to sit the hips back, so think somewhere between hinge and squat here. Okay, really good pulses, staying nice and low the whole time. And then we're going to go into some alternating lunges, keeping those arms up overhead. So it's more difficult to get some arm stuff in body weight wise, but this is one way to do it. Really keep those arms nice and straight. It'll help get the core because you're trying not to lift your rib cage in order to get the arms up. And I'm doing 8 each or 16 total on those lunges. Again, straight arms, good lunges. Arms up, arms up. Okay, and I like to try and do, I don't want to try and do 2 legs at every stop or 2 core at every stop necessarily. And we're off and running again, okay? But you can. It is an option, and you'll see later that I do 2 core in one spot. Here we're going with a T-twist. Okay, really trying to keep the butt down. You want a good plank when both hands are on the bench, and then you also want a really good solid plank when you're on your side. Make sure your feet are pivoting, okay? My husband did this with me, and he was not pivoting his feet at first, and you're not getting that side plank, and you're not getting those obliques out of it. So really make sure you pivot the feet, and you might just need to stop and adjust every so often, and that's okay. Okay, I did 16 total, 8 each. And then I went into some calf raises. I liked this spot for calf raises because it was elevated, and so I was able to get a little bit more range of motion out of it. But you don't need that. You don't need to try and balance. You don't need to try and stay up. You can stand behind the bench and just do calf raises off the ground as well. Okay, I did fall over. But I got right back up and finished for 10. And then we are off and running again. So again, I'm starting slower and then picking up the pace into my sprint. You don't want to just start into a sprint right from standing. And then we're doing some hip dips. I would have preferred to do this from my forearm. the bench just didn't allow for it. It was metal and it hurt my elbow being in the slats, so we opted for that straight arm. Top foot is in front or feet are stacked, and you're really trying to make sure that you stay in that plank position the whole time. You don't want to stick your butt out behind you as you drop those hips down. Okay, really keep that nice straight line. Now, the next set of benches was really close together. So I did some squat walks. I did 5 one direction, and then I turned around and I did 5 this way. And then I actually went and jogged just across that road there. Did another set of the squat walks before coming to this bench here. Started with some shoulder taps. Again, you can elevate it to the back of the bench if you need to, or you can even come down to the ground, okay? And then I did some mountain climbers. Everything was 10 each, 20 total. Again, come down to the ground, elevate it up higher if you need to, and then we were jogging home and just cooling off on the way home. Nice slow jog, nothing fancy, nothing super fast.